Hi everybody. Today I'm doing something a little bit different for me. Again, I'm going to be reacting to some of my earlier YouTube videos from throughout the pandemic. Um, I don't know for sure. I do actually think I have some pre-pandemic footage here, but a lot of this is going to be from within the last 2 years and specifically pertaining to the videos that I have made throughout the pandemic. It's definitely a large portion of what I wanted to focus on today. I'm going to do my best to keep these videos in order. There are a great number of clips, so I'm not even sure at this point if I'm going to keep every single itemized thing in or if I'm going to do a little bit different of a breakdown surrounding those. So what you're going to definitely see today are a lot of hair changes, a lot of makeup changes. I did have throughout the course of the pandemic. I don't think that I'll be showing my more recent ones where like I have my head shaved, but you will see me go from blonde to black to blue to red to all kinds of different things throughout this. So we're going to kind of be on that roller coaster together with my undercut, with my different dye colors I've been, with my different ear gauge sizes, and you'll kind of go right alongside me. You'll see me going through those. So I do have this muted at the moment. Some of the more difficult subjects that you'll see me explore within this, if you do go back to watch any one of these videos, I do have a great number of difficult topics where I'm exploring either my own mental health from an earlier perspective, or I am kind of going through the motions of what it means to be a young person going through her first global event, global health event, such as it was at that time for me. So I definitely was not as graceful, as thoughtful perhaps as I could have been at that time. I think that a lot of the frustrations that I had are pretty evident throughout this video, throughout my earlier videos during the pandemic. The visible frustration, the vocal tension you'll see throughout is just a little bit I hope that it's not something that's going to be triggering to some people, but I can see how it could be. I can see how like those frustrations, that agonizing tension of like what's going on globally, what will happen next. I can absolutely see where those explorations, revisiting those things would be difficult for people. So if any of this is going to be upsetting to you, it's not my goal to upset anyone. I specifically would like to not do that, in fact. So if you feel as if that's going to be upsetting to you, if you're in a more fragile place and you don't want to see anything pertaining to the struggles earlier in the pandemic, I just really hope that this is not upsetting to you by any means. My goal is actually never to make people feel uncomfortable watching my content, except for in a mild way, maybe an artistic way. I think that as much as I would like to be thought-provoking, I certainly do not want to be an agitator of someone else's mental well-being. So you'll see me throughout these videos. I believe most of the footage is am and was. The Electric Mayhem, is filmed in the trailer Um, I really do. This is a little bit of a sensitive topic for me, but I do miss the trailer a great deal. For those of you who aren't aware, I did purchase a trailer from my friend. It was a sort of a family heirloom to her that she was unable to rehome once she moved away. The trailer basically became like an emotional safe harbor, safe space for me to operate within. And it was this really beautiful artistic space that I felt I could be comfortable within to a great extent. I really can't express how thankful I am to have had it, to have been able to appreciate it where she wasn't able to. But what happened with the trailer specifically, as much as I wanted to have kept it, it just was not financially feasible for me. The Mallard was from 1978, and as much as I had wanted to continue the upkeep on that, I basically had somebody who I trusted put a price on everything, and it just became very clear very quickly that it would be like the price of a new car to fix. So definitely upwards of 6,000. Maybe not the price of a new car, but definitely like whole car payment. Definitely the price of a used car. Be like 6,000 to replace the roof and whatever else in the siding might have needed to be replaced after the roof was replaced. Who knows what that would have looked like. So he was very transparent with me, and I greatly appreciated that at the time. I still do. I'm glad that I didn't have the money pit element. So within this series, you will see me click back and forth through some footage of me in the camper. You'll see me do a great number of makeup videos out here. I do have like a Lucille Ball tutorial that I filmed in here. I had a Batgirl tutorial and a Harley Quinn tutorial off the top of my head. I also had what I believe to be my first Get Unready with Me video, which involved me taking my hair out of hair curlers. And my heart hurts because I loved this camper so much. You'll see me in another part of this video explore what it was like to first purchase the camper, sort of my hopes and aspirations for what that space was going to be. And I think that that's the piece that hurts the most, in and alongside of this, because it just feels heartbreaking, honestly, to have gone through the purchasing of, the certification of, the transfer of everything, and then to admit to yourself that, like, wait, no, like, I really can't. I'm not at a point in my life where I can just simply undertake such an enormous financial impact like that. Because, of course, for me, because of the type of person I am, I would like to have had the ability to preserve it, the ability to keep up with what it had needed, and I don't really like to let go of much of anything. I wouldn't really call it like a hoarding level, but I would call it like I do have that preservation instinct. That's come up recently where with my mom passing, we had the option of like, should I keep or get rid of all of these home movie tapes? And I realized that it wasn't just me saving my home movie tapes, it was me preserving tapes that other people might not have had. Like, they might have been present in my home movie tapes in a way that they don't have access to theirs currently. So the preservation of VHSs within my own sphere kind of became this, like, I want to say a take one for the team, but that's not really the right sentiment. It's not really what I'm after here. It's basically the concept that through my home videos, other people might get glimpses of their own parents who might have passed away, or who, through divorce or through moving around or through just water damage in basements and things like that, they might have lost access to their early in life photos, to their just anything sentimental. I think that the loss of toys is really sad. The loss of comic books is really sad and really difficult to deal with. And it's not something to be trivialized. Like, I know a lot of people are like, well, why would you care about your toys if you're, of a certain age? It's like, well, it's not just my toys, it's the loss of the ability to pass down those things that were really meaningful to me, that may have gotten me through a remarkably difficult time. And I think that that's not to be underestimated by any means. I think it's not to be mocked. I think that it's really, really I think unfortunately I tend to fall into the category of, because my mom was so, what some people would say, overly emotional, I feel like I've been, I believe the intention was to insult me. I believe people have called me like similar to like Giselle in Enchanted. Sorry, I did have my text sound. My text sound is actually R2D2 when I have my volume on. So hopefully I don't get flagged by the Star Wars overlords. But I wanted to kind of address that here because I think that's what continues to push me into my line of work where, sorry, now that my volume's officially off, it seems like everybody decided to text me at once while I'm recording. But yes, so I think that being overly sympathetic and sort of raised in a very hypersympathetic way, and sort of watching my mom cater to everybody else's emotions really set the tone for what, like, my expectations of how to treat other people were going to look like for me. So that's why I think I've really been driven to, at this stage of my life, explore podcasts where I'm showcasing other authors, and I explore through my Instagram and my TikTok, I explore nature elements and sort of the people watching time lapses. I think that there are things during the pandemic that I've been able to have the luxury of exploring since I haven't been a essential employee. And I think that that in itself has been really, as much as I don't think I was able to have that perspective during this time in my life, during this particular window, I think that there's an appreciation that I have for it now, being able to look back at it. So you'll see throughout the first like spring into summer of the pandemic, definitely after April, you'll see me really like literally kick myself outside. I think this might have been just after I purchased the camper or just before. It's very much in that early stage for me. I feel like this is again the first time in my life where I've ever had the luxury of like sitting around on my hands, kind of doing whatever. You'll see that's actually my mug from Soulshine Yoga. That's my mug from when I got my Reiki 1 degree from Erin Poyet. And one of my favorite mugs, the simple little lobster design on it. I had my undercut I had before the shutdown. You'll see me kind of go back and forth here. I had like a pseudo bob, not quite long enough to be called a bob, but definitely not a pixie cut anymore. I actually got made fun of specifically for having this undercut. I had somebody really, really close to me tell me that, you know, what are you, a samurai? Like, really just sort of a nasty, like, offhanded remark. And yeah, like, I can look back at it now and be like, yeah, of course I am. I am, in fact, a samurai, and you can stay mad about it, but I definitely feel like, you know, when somebody close to you says something really nasty, like, you know, you're not a samurai, you're not whatever, like, it just kind of, it intentionally undercuts you and not in a, I mean, actually, that particular sentiment is a little ironic, but it really does. It makes you feel less than. It makes you feel shut down and not good enough. It makes you feel belittled. So unfortunately, that remark did exactly what it was intended to, because I'm still here talking about it. This is me playing around with my beauty blender, I believe I have my Blue Blood palette is what I'll be exploring here later on. This is the first, so you can see obviously the tree is up behind me. This footage is from the first Christmas during shutdown. This was a really, really difficult time for me. Looking back at it, it really, there's part of me that's like watching this footage and being like, put down the fucking makeup palette and text your mom back because you won't have her next Christmas. Like, I really feel like this is technically the first Christmas without her, because we did social distance. Our very last Christmas where my mom was alive, we spent basically being as careful as humanly possible. This was a time in our lives where like I was going over to her house. I would help her do laundry. I would help her do like odds and ends around the house. I would bring groceries in. And I, you know, was doing everything what I thought was the right way, what I still believe is the right way. And it's just really hard to sit and think like this last little bit of her time on the planet was spent being as careful as humanly possible, kind of for nothing. Like, I mean, not for nothing. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this because I'm trying to be respectful of, like, I realize that things could have been worse if we hadn't been doing what we were doing, but it still feels like to have done everything we did and then to still not, not be able to say that it was worth it, not to be able to say that I kept everybody safe. I think that that's such a difficult notion for me specifically. I think that that is so challenging. You'll see me kind of jump around a little bit here. I am trying to keep this footage short because I know that this is already going to be a long video just from just from the sheer volume of footage that I'm going to be going through. I still enjoy this palette. I've actually bought a few of these since this is the first one I ever had, but I have picked up the Aesthetica palettes since then. I've basically replenished the exact same color, the exact same ones. So you'll see me go through the motions here with my big feather brush, with my banana powder underneath the eye. I think You'll see me, this is one of my dual-ended sticks. I've actually used a few of these as well. You saw me use a similar product not that long ago, where it had like the highlight and then the feather pieces at the end there. So I really do like the Blue Blood palette. I feel like there's a lot of versatility in there. Personally, I know a lot of people don't feel that way. I know a lot of people feel like it's just blue. There's nothing else you can really do with it. But I was really happy to receive it. It was really like the first Jeffree Star. I got Jeffree Star's Blue Blood and the cremated pellet at the exact same time. They were a surprise gift, and I'm thrilled to pieces that I acquired them. There are pieces that I still have in the stay, and there's still things that, if you've been watching my recent videos, you've seen me use them with great frequency. You'll see me, this is my original office space. This is where I was just going in kind of like to fill in for tarot. This is really before I had my glass tabletop, before I brought any of my tapestries in, before I really had. I was at the point in my life where I had just started out doing tarot readings for other people. I've always done them at home or for friends. So the concept that I was now going into, basically really into business and to like market myself as a tarot reader, which is something that, like I said, I've always done. It's always been a part of who I am. But I never really thought that it's what I would be doing as a career. I never really thought of it as a marketable skill. And I really think that a lot of that comes from like my mom had really drilled into me, like, you have to have a real job, make sure you have a real job. And I think that part of that was obviously looking out for me, but it really took me a long time to come back around to the idea that I could create something lucrative for myself through my talents and skills in this arena. I think that that specifically was a difficult concept, and it took a while for her to come around to as well. This video is actually something I had taken to help promote my joining of 3Gem and sort of this was me going back and forth. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to continue doing like the 70-30 split that I had been doing, or trying to figure out like what I really wanted to do, if I wanted to properly rent the space itself, and really like some of the concerns I had surrounding that. I guess concerns wasn't really, but you know, basic I don't know. Yeah, no, I guess not specifically like concerns, but just regular like, hey, should I do this or should I not do this? This is my deck unboxing. So yeah, I am skipping around a little bit. The deck unboxing was a fun little period of life. I'm really glad I did that for myself. This is going by just a little bit faster than I thought it would. Yeah, see, if you ever have somebody who asks you where your confidence comes from, this is the series of videos I will show them. They're like 7-second clips here, 8-second clips here, and I just want to point out that I look hotter than I ever have in my entire life, probably in this tie-dye tank top with my little zhuzhed pseudo-natural hair color. Ooh, so we're cut to, this is my Ralph Lauren dress. I really miss that dress. That one, all right, we're moving very quickly here. So this is my declutter. I was kind of going through purging old documents. This is really like the first vlog I did. It was not makeup, not anything else. It wasn't like a get ready with me to go somewhere. I think my eyebrows look way too thin here, but that's just a personal preference. We're all our own worst critics, right? And then, let's see. I don't know, I do look, for some reason, I feel like I look younger with my hair lighter. As I said, directly going into my red braids. I feel like I've never felt better than when my hair was braided like that, and I know there's a lot of controversy right now surrounding, like, should people have braids, should people not have braids? It's something that I really enjoyed doing, but it's something that now, in retrospect, now that I have some of the education that I have now that I didn't have in 2019, 2020. This is 2020. Yeah, I think this is from the first time I did my braids because I did 2 braids and then I did with the same red and black hair, I did a 3 braid feed in as opposed to the 2 feed ins. I have such small gauges here. This is the first closet before I bought the metal closet that I have currently, which is a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Let's see, that's a space heater. So I think this is also wintry months. You'll see this video, I kind of go through what I have for hair pieces. I show off a couple of the wigs that I have. I believe that's what this video is. So you'll see me pull out hair pieces, hair clips, hair receipt. And it's receipt for things, yes. I really liked my like super shaved, super. I feel like this was Big Dweelek from Star Wars Energy, and I was super, super happy about it. I loved having these. So I'm gonna try and figure out a way to recreate this that isn't problematic or anything. I like my makeup here, I like my hair here. And this is my hair in that pitch black pseudo bob. I basically had myself convinced that you couldn't see my undercut if my hair was down, and now in the cold light of day I can obviously tell. Like, you can see I look like an alien a little bit. Definitely have like that not quite right look somehow. Drinking Blue Moon. I think this was definitely like, there was a point in the pandemic where I know that I was drinking like way too much. Let me skip forward a little bit. There's definitely that point where like we were all, I think, drinking like it was the end of the world because we all were so convinced that like some absolute hellscape was upon us, and we really didn't know. Like, the end of the world very really could have been any single second here. You'll see that's actually a roll-up makeup case that's on the door there, on the back of the door. I would really like to find that. I know I didn't get rid of it, I just don't know where it is right this minute. I love that thing. It's a Mary Kay bag. It's one of the best things I've ever done for myself as host a party once. I know I'm supposed to be anti-MLM, but I really liked that particular Mary Kay lady and that particular party. And that's all I have to say about that right now. I tend to get really self-conscious about when I show myself with shorter hair, when I show myself with certain facial angles. Um, I really do not like the area under my chin, and you'll see me later on, not really in these videos here, but I think recently that's been part of my exploration of like picking up more and more turtlenecks, picking up more and more sweaters. Um, I feel unfortunately at this juncture in my life, I'm just not like I'm trying so hard to prioritize my mental health. So anything that's going to theoretically jeopardize that for me or take away from or um, I'm hoping that obviously as a viewer of mine, if this is the even if this is like the second or third video you've watched, like you'll see me on this channel discuss the issues I've had with eating disorders and so on. The video playing right now is me reacting to Trisha Paytas's DID video. I didn't realize at the time that while I was recording, you really couldn't hear the audio from the other video. I was just under the assumption that because I was recording on one laptop and playing the video, like that you guys could automatically hear it, and so that was my downfall here. This was Trisha Paytas's DID video. She was making fun of Disassociated. See, I actually have a blue moon in front of me because of course I did at that point. So yeah, really trying to give some thoughtful feedback. I feel like this was a huge topic at the time. I have since grown up a little bit. I really, at the time, liked Trisha Paytas quite a bit. I really can't say the same right now. I feel like my love for her has dwindled a little bit as I've seen her. Like, not that I wish her anything bad, it's just, I don't know. Hopefully you'll know what I mean. It's like after a certain point, if you're inserting yourself in that many situations that publicly, um, I think it's a combination of other people taking advantage of her mental state at different points. I know that's really hard to discern when you only know people through a parasocial way through a video medium, but she really does consistently put herself out, not only on YouTube, but on TikTok now, on Instagram. There was a period of time where she was really like everywhere you turn around. She had dance classes she was doing, different music videos for herself and her own music. What's standing out to me actually at this point is my eyebrow transformation. This is very definitely all pre-microblading. You're not going to see me with microbladed brows at any point in this video. So you'll see me some of the Sharpie brows, some of the checkmark brows. I think right now in this particular video I have just like my regular natural follicles, but this is a good display of what I was talking about where I just don't like from the arch of my eyebrow out towards like what people would call the tail of the eyebrow. I really just do not have follicles, or they were growing in like really blonde or really sporadic, and I think that that's definitely a big result of growing up in the early 2000s, the late 90s, definitely like that Gwen Stefani or that style of eyebrow that was just so mega thin that a lot of people had, the Britney Spears eyebrow, um, Madonna eyebrow. This was my very first time having COVID, and I didn't know at that time I would have COVID 2 more times after this. This is March of 2020, and I was looking rough, and I was feeling rough. This is literally like me coming to grips with the fact that I had just been let go of my job. And on top of that, I was definitely experiencing like nausea, fever symptoms. This was March 15th, right before St. Patrick's Day. I was let go of my retail job, and I had never really been let go of a job. And I was taking it super personally. So not only was I feeling feverish and down, but I was feeling just like totally dejected, totally like, you know, I had to isolate my whole self. I was experiencing like major body aches, um, fevers that I had to regulate with ice packs, and I was just really only able to talk to people about things like through virtual mediums, and even people in my own home at the time. I just felt like I had brought this deadly thing home that everybody was, you know, dealing with in these totally catastrophic ways. And I felt guilty for being sick, guilty for bringing it home potentially to other individuals. This is me later on in March or April. I couldn't say for sure, trying to get my life back. I was in my workout phase. Let's see, actually I have a corset on in this video, but I was doing a really good balance of like waist training and core strengthening exercises. That was my goal. Was like, as much as I like corsets, I like the style, I like a lot of those things, I really enjoy fitness. Um, so I feel like this was me literally trying to pull myself together, like literally pull the laces of my corset together so I could pull myself together. Um, During this time, I was definitely like, I had the curtains open a lot, letting a lot of natural light in. Um, the balcony off of my bedroom at the time was definitely a saving grace. It is definitely not anymore, for reasons I'll save for another time. But the balcony at that time was my saving grace. I could put the blankets out there to air out, and that way, even when I was isolating, I was still getting some fresh air through there. Um, you know, shake out the cat fur, shake out the whatever, and put my aromatherapy oils together, get my, you know how when you're sick, you know, your whole world just feels so stale. Um, and whether or not, like, obviously there's nothing wrong with being sick, but the more fresh air you can get, I feel like the better you end up feeling. That tends to be my rule of thumb. You're gonna watch me cover myself in makeup again. Here is my, I'm trying to remember what I was using at that time. Powder contour. I tend to, at this stage of the game when I'm doing contour, I like to put cream contour on under the powder contour, because as we know, well, I'm saying we, but if you've watched a lot of my videos, if you know anything about makeup for yourself, if you have your own makeup zhuzhing that you do, you want to do a wet product, then a dry product, then a wet product, then a dry product, then a wet product, and then the dry product, kind of over and over and over again. The goal is to blend everything together and make it look as skin, like natural glowing as you possibly can. And that was my goal here, was just kind of like, all right, well, locked inside. All right, the world shut down. Like, what the heck do I do with myself? So this was me kind of just starting to branch into like that little bit of an artistic avenue. Um, if I haven't said so already, I'm acknowledging now again that the videos that I'm showing you are not in order. um, I kind of just put everything in one spot, and I kind of hit shuffle on all of my videos that I had saved on my laptop still. So I went back and visited these, and I really wanted to kind of like share that journey with you. I have my handheld mirror, doing my signature big eyeliner. I actually love the way things look here, where like I had done my own undercut. I'm not saying that I did the best job, but I really was proud of myself for having done it at the time, being like self-sufficient. I really love that raspberry color on my lips. It's actually one I don't know that I have anymore. Um, I don't think I'm going to put lashes on in this video, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I was just trying to bring myself some joy, bring any viewers I had at the time some joy. This is me I don't know if this is the same video. It might definitely be the same day if it isn't the same video. And I was trying to do like my waist measurement both before and after. This is me trying to show like a dress over my corset, how it looks, how to solve those bumps, how to solve cardigans being, you know, trying to detract basically from the, like, make it look as covered up as I could, because I think that dress, if I'm remembering properly, that was a Fashion Nova dress, and the straps themselves, for some reason, when Fashion Nova does large dresses or extra large dresses, the straps are always longer than they should be, which means that the unfortunately, with these straps being longer, that tends to mean that things are going to be cut a little bit lower. And if you're not in the appropriate undergarment, that tends to show up. I've had that happen, unfortunately, around last New Year's, I want to say. Maybe more than 2 New Years ago at this point. I feel as if I had a dress that was supposed to be able to be worn naturally, like aka without a bra, and then at some point it just became like, I don't know, the straps did not do what they were supposed to do, let's just say that. So don't always trust your fashion, don't always trust Fashion Nova specifically. So I actually really liked how I was doing my eyebrows at the time. I know they look extreme, like if you pause it, they do look like the stereotypical, like, the chola eyebrow is what they used to call it. I know that that's not the most ethnic friendly term, but like the super Nike checkmark eyebrow. My eyebrows themselves, the follicles do grow very high. And then I think that from the over tweezing that I did at one point experience, it's just this marriage of a conglomeration of a couple things. This is me physically kicking myself outside, not just on the balcony, but to literally like kick myself outside and get some fresh air. I literally was in a tent in the backyard for like 7 weeks, 6 weeks, and just fully, like, I felt like I could not be in my house anymore. I couldn't take the way the world was. I just fully, like, was not doing good mentally here. So I just had to get out of the house, had to, basically just was nature watching a bunch. You'll see me, this is when I really started to do, like, posting wildlife videos, posting stuff with my telescope, and kind of doing like the hidden cams that you'll see me do again a little bit later on in my YouTube life. This is me for like 4 seconds. I think I have a total of like 3 or 4 baking videos completely not consistently. This was me just kind of hopping around the kitchen trying to bake bread and stuff. I think there was that point for all of us where we were like making sourdough, making whatever. I was basically like making stuff, baking it, and then taking it directly outside. So I was doing like jerky and like proper camping type foods. This is how I was living for a little bit there. I would say I did like 6 or 7 weeks at one point, and then I did it all over again at one point. I remember fall coming kind of closer to the end of October, and I was like, no, I can't do my cycle anymore of going out and like being out there. And I was really like sad about it. I was out there in the rain, I was out there in the mud, and just really put myself fully out there. Like, even though I was in the yard still, I was at like the outskirts of the yard, literally close to the tree line. So that's where you'll see me show a lot of wildlife footage, and all of that is literally, I did like the bare necessities treatment for myself. During this time, I was getting a lot of reading done, so you'll see I had my books out there. I was doing the Disney Imagineering books, kind of how to and how it came to be. Accounts from engineers at Disney World. The Imagineers stuff has always been appealing to me. I read Keith Richards' autobiography, literally in the starkest contrast ever. I did Keith Richards' biography. I did, or autobiography rather, I did one of Barack Obama's books. I listened all the way through the audio file of Mary Trump's book. I listened through Matthew McConaughey, did his own audio recording for the audiobook of Green Lights, and that was really appealing to me. I can't recommend that highly enough. It's sort of this conglomeration of his own poetry that he had written throughout the years and just kind of highlighted his thoughts, his firsthand personal experiences that he's had with other people. He talks for, a couple different reasons. He'll talk about Contact, which was the movie he did with Jodie Foster. Doing some yoga stuff, kind of trying to keep myself together, trying to keep my flat back. I have always had body image issues, so even watching this back for me is like a little bit cringe, but I'm trying to get past that. I am in the process of, like, now that I am a certified yoga instructor, this is from the year before I went for my training, so, or the summer before. I don't know if it's an exact year before, but this is me trying a little bit to do like my happy stuff that was bringing me joy. I did a bunch of yoga videos where I was doing yoga inside the house. Yes, they were a little bit cramped, but I kind of just like made my peace with that. I'm working right now to really increase my online presence for yoga teaching, and sometimes I feel like because I'm not the skinniest body, I'm trying to access people who also feel that way, because yoga is not just for skinny people, but traditionally what people want to see on the internet is these hyper thin, hyper femme. Like, for me, it took me a long time to allow myself to be filmed, or even be comfortable with filming myself, not just filmed from other people, but be comfortable filming myself, because I feel like I am top heavy. I am, not the thinnest in the waist always. I do fluctuate. I'm not saying that I think I'm, you know, I'm just, the way that we think of ourselves is always so overly critical. So I've been trying really hard to let people know that it's okay. Like, if you also feel this way about yourself, please don't feel like you're not being talked to. Don't feel like you can't be catered to. Don't feel like you can't be taught anything else. Yoga is for everybody, and whether you need blocks, whether you need yoga straps, it's okay. Like, you can do modified versions of things, and I think the awareness of that is relatively minimal. Like, people, I know I've talked about this a little bit in other videos, but I think that the people that need to do yoga the most tend to be the people that do not start doing yoga very early, or don't really know where to start, and so they never start. So I'm trying to really just get the message out that all movement is good movement. I think it's so critical just to do whatever you're capable of that day, even if it's relatively minimal stretching, even if your flexibility is different from yesterday than it was the week before. Just being able to appreciate what your body can do that day is so critical. And I'll see, this ends up doubling as a tattoo tour. Unfortunately, my shoulder tattoo is still that faded. I do need to go back over it. But I have a white rabbit on my left shoulder. I have my peace. I have my yin yang, which I sometimes call a peace sign because it kind of is, sort of, for me. But the yin yang is meaningful to me. This is you'll see a sun and a moon inside, and that was supposed to represent me and one other person who, I'm not going to get into that right this minute. I know my hair is crazy here. I was really trying my best to do as much as I can with the space that I had provided myself. I was really trying to just be as self-sufficient out in my camping area, and to only go inside like really just to cook stuff or to shower, and then to head literally right back outside. I think unfortunately, like, even here I can tell like some of these angles are not the most flattering for me, but the point was that I was stretching and trying to just help people get through the ridiculous global panoramic situation that we all found ourselves in, and say, hey, like, you don't have to feel bad about letting yourself breathe, about letting yourself have like a little bit of aromatherapy, about having yourself have that minute of mindfulness and have that time to fully self-reflect. I think is so super critical for a lot of people. And when the world kind of went on pause, I think we all basically were forced to, like, totally forced to be alone with ourselves and figure out, like, what do I like? What are my hobbies actually? And, like, here you'll see a couple good shots of the yard. I was just trying to, because not everybody has a really big window, not everybody has a good sized yard, and I was trying really hard to be inclusive of, like, I'm very fortunate that I have this stuff, and let me try and share it with people that may not have that same opportunity to like look out and see wildlife in their yard. So I'm revisiting this video project after some time has passed. It's been almost a year since I started splicing this video together, since, well, maybe not a full year, definitely since like my first buzz cut. And if you've been following my recent videos, my recent TikToks, you can see I have once again a grown out pixie cut. So I wasn't kidding when I said, you know, you're going to see a lot of hair transitions. You can see my blue hair in this video, in the trailer videos, and the widow's peak and different things like that. You're going to see me go in and out of all kinds of fashion, all kinds of makeup styles. I think my brows here are so overly filled in. This is definitely more of a 2016 overly filled in, um, you know, dip brow, Anastasia dip brow style thing. Um, but anyway, you know, I was really proud of myself. And, you know, the camper served a wonderful, wonderful purpose for me. It gave me some freedom where I felt like I really didn't have any. So yes, it's taken me kind of a long time to not only splice the videos together, get it shortened down from, you know, 9 hours of footage to the length that the video is now, but also to take the time to do voiceovers and really think about how I wanted to compile different things. And also it's a little bit, you know, looking at so much footage of myself, it's kind of like I'm revisiting a lot of those same emotions and having these really guttural reactions, and some of that's triggering, some of it is, you know, upsetting. You know, I think there was never more raw and wild and uprooted feelings than during the pandemic and that includes, you know, some of my more violent memories from, you know, all the other corners of my life. I think that in a totally unique way, the pandemic really forced us to look at ourselves in the mirror and to reassess all of our demons. And that's, I think, what I have such a difficult time doing now, is that the people that are just looking to go back to normal, or, you know, people who never did take that time to work on themselves and to figure out who they really are, and are still going about, like, you know, colloquially as an NPC character with all of their own unaddressed traumas, still, you know, inflicting themselves upon all of the people who have been doing this really deep soul searching work. But I do understand that some of that is privilege that I have. I understand that in a way that I really didn't before. I think that in order to have the time to be contemplatively, you know, introspective and really figure out the root and the source of all of your fears, like, that does take a lot of time. And if you were a essential worker over the course of the pandemic, that's not time that a lot of people were afforded. So I feel like I should have more appreciation for the downtime. I should be grateful. I think I spent a lot of time just in sheer panic mode and in, oh my god, what do I do with myself mode, and using meditation apps and, you know, really trying to do Duolingo and Rosetta Stone and make sincere, you know, strides forward in productivity while still trying to figure out, you know, all of these things. I think I've listened to so many more podcasts than I ever have in my life. I think before the pandemic, podcasts were just something pleasant that I visited once in a while, whereas now I think that they're one of my main entertainment funnels. So if you had asked me, you know, before the pandemic who Hank Green was, or who, you know, what Magnus Archives was, that would have been a totally different answer. I would have been totally oblivious. I do think that, you know, I really liked my blue hair. There's definitely like a Coraline vibes. And that kind of goes in with my Tim Burton Barbie thing. It's a nickname that somebody gave me in middle school, and I've always sort of hung on to that. If you've been a friend or a follower, or, you know, consumed any media of mine on Twitch, then you know Tim Burton Barbie is my handle. It's my backup TikTok. It's my Twitch name still to this day, and there was an Instagram of mine that I was running under that name. I've really, really distanced myself once again from Facebook and Instagram. It's so alienating to have, you know, just to see people interacting when you yourself have, you know, reached out to people, whether it's the same people or different people, and to watch other people go out and have fun, and regardless of how much of that is just, you know, what they've curated for themselves and their image, or if they're actually having fun, that's not perspective that I can have in that moment. It's an immediate jealousy and upset of, you know, why wasn't I given the same opportunity to hang out with those people? And I really don't. I have tried really hard to work on my viewpoints, but that's just, it's something that's really difficult, and I struggle with that. I still struggle with that to this day, maybe not to the same degree that I did before the pandemic, but it's like a violent affront of, I'm realizing that I feel I am in the category or subcategory of people that are like relationship anarchists, wherein, you know, in the sense that I hold every single one of my relationships
regardless of if they're friends or romantic partners or, you know, anything, I will automatically equivocate them to the most important, or, you know, of equal importance to relationships that I've had in my life previously. Like, I don't have a very large, you know, beginner friends, or, you know, I don't have, this is part of what I struggle with socially, where I don't do a lot of small talk. The most small talk I think I've done is training myself to talk to my camera over the course of the pandemic. It's my leopard sweater. That cardigan I still have was one of the things my mom had gotten me, and I'm sure it was from Target or something, but I don't know that I'll get rid of it. Yeah, see, these are not the most in order, but... So I think this video is my camper tour. Just kind of showing around from, you know, the bedroom subset to the mirror and, you know, the small skylight. The camper was a 78 Mallard, which it obviously, because of the age, saw a lot and, you know, had a really good life. I really can't complain about the amount of time that I did have with it. I'm really, really grateful for. See my flowers in the background. I think that, you know, the layout of the camper was sort of ideal. That's mostly the window I was filming in front of, the small garden outside of the window, the air conditioner. So it was good. It helped me beat the heat, helped me have a small space that I could dedicate to art and to makeup and to doing voiceovers, though the Wi-Fi connection was always a really big struggle, so I had to do a lot of my recording and things like that offline. It certainly wasn't a good space to edit in, but it was good to record and, like I said, do a lot of my offline activities. So I did do, you know, a bleach, you know, power wash and some different things to try and keep up with it. I think unfortunately it was just too big of a project for me, and then when I did have somebody come out and assess, it was, you know, no less than $6,000 in mold damage. And the way it was worded to me, you know, by the professional was that, yeah, it's, you know, X amount, this is the thing I can quote you on, but by the time you know, this is just what I see in the roof, and by the time we look at the walls and everything, it could be several $1,000s more. So, but so funny, my gauges look so small here, and in the span of this video I can see myself go from, you know, just regular earring holes to baby gauges to, you know, all these different steps and things that I have done for, you know, getting my ears to where they are today, which is at 7/8 of an inch. I'm at about 19 gauge, something like that. So you can see I have my Harley Pop vinyl, which was a gift to me. It was a ThredUp bag, which, if you're not familiar with ThredUp, I use them a lot for clothing donation and clothing resale. And over the course of the last, I would say over the last 5 years, but definitely in recent history, I've been trying to thrift and make the best out of, you know, resale products, to try and limit my imprint. So you'll see going into my carbon moving some of my stuff in, getting set up, and now our next video clip is back in the house. This is my Jeffree Star Blue Blood collection. I was so proud of my all blue, very retro. I mean, I really love a blue eye look. I just think moving into the 90s and the 2000s, it became powder blue and not so much like big cobalt blue. So to do more of a impactful blue is a little bit more 80s couture. You can still see big bold colors usually in like fashion magazines or performance makeup, which is usually what I like to do. It's from, you know, when I used to do my stage makeup or my going out makeup, it was always these big bold eye looks with lots and lots of eyeliner and some cut creases. Always, always, always an under eyebrow highlight. This is before I had my brows tattooed. Because as you can see, my follicles are just so much lighter and more sparse on the ends. So when I had my tattoo done for my face, which, don't get me wrong, hurt like a bitch, but I'm so glad that I did it. Here's me with my hoops. I really liked these hoops. I wish I could find them. They are from Etsy, and you unscrew a metal ball at the end, and then you can kind of put any charms, any bead patterns, anything on that you feel like. They were really, really fun. I really played a lot with my makeup and with my hair because I felt like I was looking to try out as much as I possibly could. You know, with no employer, with nobody to say no or tell me anything different. I really was looking to try and change things up outwardly as much as I was changing things up inwardly. So there has been a lot of transitions for myself throughout the pandemic, which includes obviously battling my mental health, battling, you know, friendships and things falling inside and outside and upside downside, and losing loved ones left and right. So really forming and reforming and trying to lava rock myself together. You can see a little bit here. I'm going back and forth with different hairstyles, different things, and in some cases what I did learn subsequently about myself is that it's likely that my BPD caused a lot of the DID symptoms and split behaviors that I've experienced. Because with BPD, it's, you know, I need structure, I need different things, and when they aren't provided, or, you know, when those aren't available, it's the absolute need for those needs to be met immediately. And when I can't cope with something, and there's no other option but to move past it somehow, what my subconscious did, or continues to do, maybe, but has definitely done historically, is to create an entirely different persona with different likes and dislikes and totally different sets of memories, and to cope with that and try to integrate those memories, to integrate those different subsets of myself back together was really difficult. And it's hard because I think there's so much that I wish I was able to better identify when I was in it and not after the fact. Because at this time, you know, hindsight's 2020, right now I find myself wondering how much more I should have told people about my mental health struggles, how much more I should have spoken up about earlier, and then it would have been, you know, other people's choices to leave my life earlier if they chose to, you know, not have somebody like that in their lives, or if they couldn't deal with a friend who needed as big of a support system, or maybe if providing that information earlier on would have made things different. Because I've made a couple of TikToks at this point trying my best to articulate or trying my best to make light of what my experiences have been, where, you know, I tell somebody, you know, oh, I suffer with depression or I suffer with different things. And they'll say, oh, yeah, you know, whatever, me too. Or, yeah, I used to struggle with that too. And then when I do exhibit symptoms, that they end up stepping away from me. So that's where a lot of my remarks are, you know, heavily set in if you're only somebody's friend until they exhibit symptoms of something that you know that they have toward you, then, you know, it's not their fault for withholding information. It's your fault for, you know, not believing them or not understanding what that could look like. So, whereas I have a very high tolerance for things that I'm willing to get down into the pit with someone and say, okay, well, you're dealing with this, how do I assist you? I'm learning my expectations for that to be reciprocated to a lot of people just are not realistic. And that's where the overlap of whether it's BPD or whether it's autism really, you know, I crave structure. I crave for all things to be equal at all times, and for equal recognition to take place. That means that I also need those supports, and I'm more than willing to support other people, but, you know, I'm more frequently giving 200% of myself or 250% of myself, and I really don't have the same understanding for, you know, people who have maybe some of their own things that they're unaware of, or own traumas that they're unaware of. This video was really difficult for me to make, where I'm talking about, this is my Planned Parenthood video, where I express, you know, what I've gone through two different scenarios at two different points in my life. I ended up privating this video just because it was, I think, more vulnerable than it should have been, as much as I like being able to share my voice. I think there are a lot of people who just aren't interested in that type of information being shared, and that sometimes when somebody who's overly sensitive or really takes things personally like me ends up sharing too much information, that leaves them open to all kinds of people who disagree with them, leaving really nasty comments and dislikes and, you know, different threats and things. So this is my half and half makeup. I think I was doing, you know, like a power of makeup, the way that NikkieTutorials does her half and half videos, where you compare the really done up face with the totally bare side. I actually really liked my blonde with my undercut, the high contrast. I think was exactly what I needed at the time. This is either, I believe it's my Lucille Ball style makeup. Sort of prepping and laying everything out. So you'll see me here with my Trivial Pursuit in the background, and then those are the panels that I had unscrewed to try and figure out how best to update the wiring. And then I had like a coffee table right near the door on the right hand side there, like directly behind where I'm talking, where I would put coolers and drinks and different things in both the mini fridge, and I had like a grab and go snack basket, which still ended up being not the best idea because it got very, very hot in there. It was not the best temperature controlled spot, even with the air conditioner, because as I said, I was struggling with both of the electric connection and the Wi-Fi. More often than not was an uphill battle. I'm realizing how thin my eyebrows used to be, and I'm really glad for my own peace of mind that I got my tattooing done. I know that I mentioned it already once in the video, but it's occurring to me that much more now that I'm seeing more and different video footage of myself rocking sort of the Vulcan eyebrow. And it's genetic. I know my mom also had, you know, only up until the arches, like the very top of her arches grew in, and really not the rest of the eyebrow. You can see me adjusting my lighting. I was using a moisturizer. I think that was a Clean and Clear moisturizer at that time. I had a mug warmer, which was good for when it got a little bit cooler in the nighttime. So you'll see me mess with. I have the Topic, which was like the hair volume. I think this was Neutrogena. Maybe at the time it was a Maybelline foundation. For a little bit there, I was Maybelline or bust. Oh, this is me. I think this is my Get Unready With Me. This is post Harley Quinn makeup. Over the course of the pandemic, I went from trying to manage my pin straight hair and realizing that my hair wasn't actually all that straight once I took care of it differently. I was just keeping it moisturized, keeping it, you know, leave-in conditioners and a couple other treatments that really ended up showcasing, you know, a lot of the waves. I was able to, again, through having time to do that, time to do exploration within myself, and work on myself, that I was able to do those things. You can see me, I had just enough hair to braid, and I was so proud of my braid before I could do much else with it. I was braiding it back because so much of my hair was trained to either go, you know, forward or to the side, and I was trying to make it look like more of a updo. I think this is my Lucille Ball / Marilyn Monroe more pinup look that I was doing. That's what I thought the other video was, but here we go. Everything's better with a red lip, honestly. That's still my motto. I feel like I feel so naked when I don't have my makeup done, and I've done, like I said, a lot of really good and explorative mental work, and I understand what the root of that is. So now I'm able to do my makeup because I choose to and because I want to play with makeup, and not because I feel like I have to for societal pressures. It's just something that I do for myself, to make myself feel more presentable and more, you know, pulled together, calm, cool, and collected. But again, to each their own. I think that it took me a long time to recognize that my makeup journey earlier in life was extremely toxic. It was not good for my head to sit in the makeup mirror for 3 hours and do all these different things that I could have been, you know, in a healthier place where I wasn't picking at my skin and really hyper analyzing myself in a makeup mirror for hours and hours and hours. So I think actually revisiting some of this footage is an important reminder to myself to do, you know, keep trying different things. I know I really explored, like you'll see in this video, I was exploring with baking, I was exploring with making my own flour, because there was just, you know, I had so very much time that I was just trying to fill, and fill in a productive way that made me feel productive, trying to like literally foster feeling accomplished, which I still find really, really difficult. I feel like any time that I have to sit on my hands, I have to relearn my, you know, because right now I'm coming off of having worked really diligently for, you know, 8 months. I was working somewhere, and now I'm, you know, downsized again and in between jobs again. And regardless of how long it is between times, like, I feel my best when I'm able to have something to help keep the pace, and to not have the structure that a work environment provides, or that following a schedule provides, is really difficult. I've tried working for myself several times now in different capacities, and I think, you know, YouTube would be included in that. And I just have a difficult time when nobody's cracking the whip at me except myself. I think it's really hard to teach yourself discipline when there wasn't any in your household growing up. So here you'll see me, I think this is my glitter. I tried to do like a super cool butterfly masquerade situation. I remember at one point, because I realized I was doing so many different makeup looks in a row, I was kind of forcing myself to use different things. So this is a Wet n Wild foundation. I remember really, really struggling to, you know, get my lighting in order, to make it viewer appropriate, or, you know, to optimize, because makeup lighting is really difficult. This is where I was experimenting with darker foundation as contour, obviously with varying degrees of success. It's just a difficult thing to nail down. I think I'm a lot more comfortable doing that now than I was before, where I was just doing like powder contour, if any, and now I feel a lot more comfortable doing various types of cream contour and foundation layering, baking with loose powder, and really like letting it sit and set for as long as possible. This was the banana powder that I believe I got through e.l.f. You can see Oliver hopping up in the background. And I was trying to do like this ultra dramatic look. I think one of the biggest flaws I have is that sometimes I'll pull out my makeup and try and make a video to cheer myself up on my worst mental health day. And sometimes that really backfires. You know, I've done some live videos that didn't turn out well because I wasn't really in the headspace to realize that I had, you know, 0 viewers or 2 viewers. And that's not to say I wasn't extremely grateful for those viewers, but it is just really difficult to realize you're putting hours and hours and hours into talking for yourself or about yourself, and as cathartic as it is, as important as the artistry is, you're still doing it with performance in mind. So it is really taxing, you know, to keep trucking away and trying to be consistent, but realizing that your viewership is still so low. So this one, you can see I put like a really dark black purpley base, and then was doing like points on either side. I think I had like a gradient going. I'm trying to remember. There were some days where I filmed multiple videos like on the same day. Again, just kind of trying really hard to fill like foster productivity for myself and maximize, you know, some of the anxieties I was trying to get a hold of, and I felt like art was the only way to do it. At least at that time, I felt like makeup was the only way I could really get that all the way out of my system or to make the best of it. I think that YouTube and streaming and a lot of social media just feels so second nature to me because I look back at the sheer amount of photos I have of myself and videos I have of myself as a little kid, and I think that I was so very definitely accustomed and really just got to the point where I was expecting a camera to be on me at all times, you know, every holiday, you know, all these different occasions. Like, there was always, you know, I was always either taking pictures or I was having my picture taken. Like, there was no other space. So when I got into my, you know, when I started getting digital cameras and my laptop cameras, I think that that was just so natural and second nature for me to create videos. Um, it became so incredibly important for me to document everything that I was going through, especially during the pandemic, because I wanted to remember these feelings, as difficult as they are to have had and to manage. It's so important to not forget the hard emotional work that you've done, you know, whether it's with someone or separate from them. I think that if I hadn't started my emotional regulation journey before my mom passed, you know, kind of all throughout the pandemic, I was working on myself and desperately trying to address my anger issues and trying to address my depression, trying to address, you know, feeling neglected. I think that it was so important for me to try and put myself out there and express myself, even if it was through a virtual medium, which I, believe it or not, you know, as much as I enjoy creating virtual content, I will always, you know, almost every circumstance that I can, I will choose an in-person interaction um, over a virtual one, which I think that maybe not for everyone, but I know I personally feel like I was guilted into feeling, you know, bad about wanting to do things, and it wasn't about wanting to do things at the risk of everybody else's health or at the risk of making people sick, but I think that it was important for me to mourn, you know, and like I said, you know, because I have what I would consider a hyperverbal type of autism where I think out loud and I do process things the best when I have the ability to speak out loud and usually have a sounding board. I have a really difficult time processing my emotions like without those things. So to kind of foster that, I think that being able to talk out loud to the camera is also really important. And I think that without having my YouTube, I would have struggled a lot more severely. So that's what I think the transparency importance comes in because, you know, I think that arguably people who know me through YouTube and through social media might know me the best because when you meet me in person, I'm much more likely to say, oh yeah, things are going good, or, you know, I am very good at, you know, on a surface level at acting calm and cool and collected because that's what was frequently you know, expected of me. That's a learned behavior to be calm and cool and collected when you don't feel like you have a safe space to express yourself emotionally always. Um, you learn to kind of stuff those all the way down. So I think it's important, especially right now, for as many people as can. You know, I think that I've really maximized creating content with what I have wherever I have had it. You know, so sometimes that's my Movie Maker app on my phone, and sometimes that's, you know, using footage on my digital camera separate from my laptop. Sometimes I have my high definition, super HD, you know, webcam, and that's, you know, really good and important too. But, you know, sometimes it's okay to have a, you know, $5 ring light from, you know, Five Below or something, or it's okay to have an inexpensive phone holder. It's okay to have, you know, all these different things. And for me, sometimes the important lesson was to maximize what I had before I purchased more and new different things for myself. And it's good to recognize, you know, yeah, okay, you know, I do use that, I do need that, um, because I've really maximized, or I've realized like this battery capacity isn't working for me. And that's why being able to purchase my phone outright, you know, that had a really, you know, good capacity for photos and videos. I am sometimes, there was a period in my life where I was known as like Little Miss Screenshot because I felt like it was important for me to remember as much as possible whenever I could. Um, and those of you who might have been following my TikTok journey know that with BPD, like sometimes, you know, with DID that stems from BPD, um, there are things that I've, you know, done and managed to, you know, start conversations or manage to go on outings or walks or different things, and I don't always remember them. So I think that documenting as much as possible um, was really beneficial for me to help recognize what was going on and the truth of, you know, how frequently things were happening and where I had been, and being able to track those things became enormously important for me, and I was glad that I had the ability to do that with greater camera storage, greater laptop storage. So someday, once I'm a little bit more comfortable, I think I'll be able to talk about my journey with, you know, specifically DID a little bit better. I was actually really proud of this makeup look at the time, I think, when I was doing, you know, obviously I filmed this blue eyeshadow look and the Catwoman look, like right in the same video. I think I was documenting, you know, why I put my natural or natural adjacent hair back over my red, and how the red had just become too difficult for me to manage. Like I said, I think lighting here is half the battle, but here we are back in the camper. My one, I think this is the last clip for you guys as well. I think that I'm realizing now that that tank top wasn't doing me any favors, but I felt really cute in summary. But that necklace is actually really important to me. I have that in my jewelry box. That's something that my uncle made me. It has like a teapot clasp where the open end of the clasp is the teapot shape, and the piece that goes through it to hold the circle is a teaspoon. I think that it's really difficult for me to see myself go through some of these motions because, like I said, I don't remember every single piece of recording material that I went through. I think that there was a large portion of my life where I didn't have any idea that I did have a split persona, or several. Oh yeah, so this is my Batgirl makeup. We're gonna go out, I think, on Batgirl close to the end here. A lot of this was just eyeliner and relatively inexpensive pencil because I knew I was gonna be going through quite a bit of black, so it became anything that I had black, kind of anything goes makeup. So that included the magnetic eyeliner I had, some different things, and then putting black powder over it to set it. This is my Alicia Keys, excuse me. Alicia Silverstone, definitely not Alicia Keys. Makeup honorific, because marrying in the purple tie-ins. So I had a lot of fun creating like the Selena Kyle makeup inspiration we just saw. I did the Harley, I did the Batgirl. I had a lot of fun creating those looks. Unfortunately, the more, you know, the more depressed I am, the more unengaged with myself I am, the harder it is to pull myself out of that dissociation. So I feel like doing more elaborate makeup looks right now is just, it's not in the cards, as the kids say. Doesn't mean I won't in the future undertake something for perhaps, you know, Rhode Island Comic Con, something like that, which I'm hoping to go to. So. See me tying in purple eyeshadow to fill in the space and make it a little bit more feminine looking. I'm actually really proud of how this look came out. Even though it was probably the fewest materials, fewest details, I definitely used like the most Q-tips and stuff to clean up the edges to get it to be that shape, but I had fun. I would definitely do this look again someday. I'm ending on this clip on purpose. This is one of the ones that never really made it to a YouTube video, but it was me trying to get up the courage to record and trying to process my emotions, waiting for somebody to call me back, waiting for, you know, you can see me checking voicemails, going through different things and just kind of waiting. I think this was a situation where I didn't even realize the camera was on. It's hard to manage separation anxiety, separation issues. This video is sped up, so I wasn't actually hyperventilating. I know it does sort of look like that. But I wanted to take this time just to show you what it looks like when you have anxiety and you're just kind of pushing yourself through difficult situations. And I think the pandemic really tested me emotionally, really pushed my buttons, and it forced me to explore good and bad and gray, you know, medium emotions. Um, so it's really hard for me to engage with people who haven't had, again, I know that the time to do that is the luxury, but people who haven't put work into themselves, it's really difficult for me to engage with them, at least at this point in my life. It's hard to integrate, you know, becoming shallow enough or palatable enough to meet someone where they're at is really difficult, and I hope it gets easier one day.